So we have mics for everybody. If you have a question, would you, identify yourself and your organization and then ask the question? And whilst we're sorting out the mics for everybody, I'll ask a question here to get people going, and then we'll go to the audience. One of the things that was raised as an issue was around quality. How do people recommend? How do people test their systems, and how do you ensure quality? So this is to everybody. So who would like to tackle that? Sure. So the question is really around quality. So how do you ensure that what you're tagging is correct ultimately? Are there particular techniques? Are there images which are harder to tag correctly than others? I mean, we saw the muffin chihuahua, but are there other sort of general categories that people should be worried about?
So for us, we took the position of giving the customer a responsibility of doing this selection with having the probability in the image of each of the tag. And I guess it's really depend on the industry and the case, because some customers want to have a very high probability of for that selection. So for example, they will select only above 90%, and that's a clear cut there, or then allow 50%. But it really depends. For us, we tend to give the customer the choice, right? So that's what we went for.
Yeah, I think we take a similar approach, but a little bit more hand-holding involved. Typically, we'll take on a data set of any volume of images from a client, and then ask them to hold about 10% of that data set to themselves and evaluate it manually. And then we'll train a model for them, return the model to them, and they will then evaluate our accuracy versus what they already know about their images.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I think there's one thing that needs to be taken into account. How do you qualify quality? So what a lot of companies do is they just propose 5 or 3 keywords which are the most probable, and typically they are all correct. So but this doesn't mean it's a perfect system, because the first results are always very good, and if you have 10, then the difference might show up. And my belief is that actually, that what I've shown before, if you use your own images, and instead of having these predefined categories, instead of using your own images and take all these huge set that you have to predict from this, in addition with the user interaction, this can actually achieve a very good quality, but it's a different approach.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
My company is a user of some of the annotators that are here, although I don't discover which ones are the best ones. What we do is that we use our people. We only take 50% accuracy, up to 50% accuracy, and then we take, let's say, the best images that we have sold during 1 year, and we see if the accuracy they are supplying to us, it compares with the keywords that we have. So it's an exercise, a manual exercise, so we don't actually go back to them and say, could be improved or not at this moment, for the moment, but there's a lot of manual work. I mean, we have to analyze that, and you have to have very expert people with expertise, okay, and search and actually responding to clients' requests. Okay, so it's manual work, but it's actually very profitable, because sometimes you find keywords that you are missing, and you can add them to your system. Okay.
Great, thank you. So I have a question right here in the front.
My name is Pavel. I'm from Deposit Photos. I have a question for Kai. Am I right that state of the art of synthesizing of images is making images of sizes not more than 200 on 200 pixels? Do you have?
For the moment, most of these images are very small, because actually these systems also use small images to get trained. But this is something which can be scaled. So this is just at the beginning. These are these adversarial networks that actually, I don't know if you heard about this, it's actually 2 networks competing with each other. One tries to actually fake an image, and another one tries to detect the fake, and they always fight with each other, and the longer the system runs, the better it gets, and then in the end you might have very good generations, but I think it's a question of time until they get bigger and sharper, and But I think it will take a time until you say, give me a Ronaldo image shooting a goal from the upper left area of the field or something. There's still a long way to go, but I think it's kind of amazing that these images can be generated.
Okay, do you work on it? Do you work on this?
Well, actually, I
issues?
work on this as well. We have many fields. So also, again, one nice thing in the university is we always have a group of smart students, and then we do projects. For example, the next semester we'll have a group of 6 students actually synthesizing images. Yes.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, Ken.
Hello, my name is Vahur. I'm from Estonian Photographic Heritage Society. And I have a more ideological question about the oligopoly in the development of these services. Am I right that actually your services, when customers use these, that you actually also are training your service to become a better service? So actually, it's really, isn't it, as you mentioned also, Mike, that this is not achievable to have the same services developed with a 5 IT person team, so that these big players are getting better and better, and there is the threshold for newcomers who want to develop their own automatic tagging services is coming also higher and higher for them.
I can jump right away there. We don't use your customer data to train our network at all. Right? So we don't do this. We actually don't even store the image in our system. So you send your data and we return the value, but we train our models with images that are from us and that are legally authorized.
We have the same answer, but we do have the option. So some clients do choose to participate in the betterment of the community of Clarify. So our largest enterprise clients typically keep their data private and we don't store it or anything like that, but the other companies choose to kind of participate in that network because they believe if they can enhance the model, then they'll receive some benefit from that as well.
Maybe yes, I mean, this panel, I am the only one that I am a user, okay, not a developer. I have to admit that we are not exactly as a user, a neutral user, and we use the technology. We develop our own technology as well. So we have just arrived to the need of the annotators, okay, because we developed the visual image search. Actually, the CPIC has CPIC image search that for political reasons has not been developed, that was based in the technology of my company, okay? So we use a mixture of things, okay? One is visual image search for deduplication our database, and we have reached to the conclusion that visual image search alone is not enough, so we have started initially to use some of the technology of the people are in this panel, okay? In order to improve, if possible, our own developments. Okay, so obviously they are much more advanced than we are, and we have to help. We have to be helped by them. Okay, by using them as under license. Okay, but this is what we are doing. But one thing I want to say to the user is that you cannot rely entirely, okay, on software developed by somebody else. You have to do an effort to produce your own software because the one that knows exactly the needs of your clients is yourself. So you have to adapt what they do, okay? They use the technology, which is very good in certain cases, and you have developed a portion of that technology in order to adapt it to your own company, okay?
I'd just like to add one comment which might not be clear for everybody. A lot of these systems that we have just been talking about are software as a service systems, actually. You have an image, you send it somewhere, it's processed, and you get back an answer like probability of something, of a category or an age or whatever. And I think there are a lot of systems which actually, or even companies that don't allow to leave, for the images to leave the company. And actually this means they cannot use any of the systems, and even if they say we do not store them, I know companies that say, I do not want my images to leave this place. And this actually means that you need to do everything in-house, either with your own software or if it's a system which you need to install in your server that it can run there. This needs to be made clear in the ad that you actually have different options there.
Actually, very good point. This is also why I showed that these were very high-level services, but I show also there's a slide, there was the MXNet framework. In fact, recognition is based on MXNet, and the models cannot be trained by customers. But if you want to make your own model, you can launch that MXNet platform in your own private cloud in AWS, for example. And a lot of customers have done that. And then they can train the model like very easily. I mean, the MXNet framework is our platform of choice for AI. It's extremely good for doing that kind of thing. It's extremely simple to train. Right? Just one click, it's in your environment, and you can start using it. So it really depends on how, as a customer, you want to use the service. Right? If you want to do it yourself, that's the way to go. If you want to use a high-level services and you want to focus on business and going fast, you know, a small team of 2 or 3 developers, they don't have the resources to do that. So it's the way to go at the beginning, at least to get forward, right? But eventually, as your service grows and your application gets better, you probably want to do it yourself eventually to improve that system. But I think both can work in conjunction, right? You can use one system like to get the results, you know, the fast result, and then use that result to improve your own model, right? We don't copyright the answer of the response of the API. You can use it as you will. The only thing what you pay is for the API, but the response is yours. So you can improve your own service using that, and tons of people do that.
Great, thank you. So a question here, and then two.
My name is Torshäll. I'm from Schibsted, Norway. I actually see that you last guy from Context API, what it name, was talking about the context and the understanding and feeling. How you can recognize those things, because in our company we have now at least 1 million keywords, and most of the valuable keywords are actually set about 5 to 10 years ago, when there were people actually judging the images, and they set understanding in phrases. For instance, it's a political meeting. How do you recognize a political meeting, and how do you differentiate it from other meetings? Is it possible in a way? Or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example. If you took, let's say, if you took 250 photos of politicians sitting at a conference table, and then 250 photos of, you know, this conference room, the composure of the image, the angles, the colors, the lighting, the clothing, the visual aspects of the environments are so drastically different that the AI can pick up on those things and start to learn very quickly.
Well, I think it's kind of risky, so it could learn just to rely on this pink fence. And then, so it's always very difficult setting up. It's always very difficult setting up a good training set, because in the very beginning, when they started using neural networks, for example, one scientist came up and said he could actually distinguish tanks from cars. And then only a few later, it turned out actually the only thing you had to distinguish was if the weather was nice or not, because the one were taken, it was good weather, and the other was bad weather. But at that time, testing on these images, everything seemed to work perfectly. Yeah.
That's why actually this was a problem for customers before. That's why we went on to trying to identify celebrities as well. And politicians are part of the celebrities, right? So, you know, I think if you combine contextual is a combination of things, right? So if you combine the location, if you combine you get a meeting and you see personality, and then you crawl the web and you see at that date there was this meeting, then you can, you know, you have a context. In fact, I was working with AWS with companies that were doing contextual search, and, you know, you need to have 15, 20 different searches, and then put them together to get your answer, right? So I wouldn't rely only on the AI to do that. It's the same as I get the questions a lot. Can we use recognition for security purposes? I would say, sure, but not your main one. You gotta have different channels. You gotta have 3 different ways of identifying a person. Your MFA is the same as an MFA, right? So it's just another way of improving your context as a general thing.
Thank you. Question back here.
Hello, my name is Liam Bailey from Photocrowd. The question I want to ask is really about the filtering, and would you think in 2 or 3 years' time you'll be able to filter and predict which images will actually sell?
I love that topic. In fact, I discussed that with a customer 2 days ago in Norway. I'll answer as Amazon. We'll go where the customer wants us to go. If there's a need for that, and the customers are asking us to predict what might be a good interpretation of what an image sell, yes. As of today, you can do it yourself already, using the systems in place. If you collect metrics about what your image are selling, what is selling currently in your library, you can use big data, then you can use machine learning algorithm. Those are perfect for that, not AI, but machine learning algorithm. In fact, there's a company in US called Xylo, and Xylo has launched what they call the Zestimate. It's an estimation of the price of a house, right? And it's the way, Xylo is the website to go when you want to buy in the US. What they've done is they have aggregated all the marks of what has sold in the last 10, 15 years, the image, the configuration of the house, all this kind of context around the house. And now when you upload the image and you give some information about the house, they'll tell you what price they think it is. And that's now used as a reference in the US to sell your house. And it's open, the way they've done it, it's out there on the net. There's a user case, how they've done that on AWS, actually using machine learning. So it's something you can already do, and a lot of companies are doing just that currently.
I'd like to add one comment there. For example, another problem is predicting the quality of an image. Like it could be bad or good, and so the criteria for actually selecting your decision is very different, and even that has been tried to learn. So if you were to have and actually we've done this as well, and a very simple first approach was taking 10,000 good and 10,000 bad images. We actually got an accuracy of 75%, which might not seem too good, but still, if you take the very high, the secure cases where you're pretty confident, this actually helps you to filter out those images that definitely will not be taken, that will not be good. And again, also this will improve over time, I'm pretty sure.
Any other questions? Okay, one last question over here. And then we'll go for a coffee break, and then you can ask more questions in the coffee break.
I wonder if any of your systems have been used or could be used to identify rights holders.
I'm sorry, could you, before people, could you identify yourself and your organization?
Angela Murphy, CPIC, I'm a consultant.
So can you repeat the question? To identify?
Rights holders, copyright. People, copyright.
So the owners of the pictures, or?
Yeah,
okay.
Creators of the pictures.
I think the short answer is there's probably better tools and better data points to do it, and I think you'll hear about like one of them today, later, SmartFrame. Visual similarity search can generally find similar photos, so if you're able to search for an image, then you might be able to find the rights holder, but I think there's better technologies out there to do it. What do you think?
I think that it's not about similarity, it's about the exact match. The exact match is a completely different, well, I wouldn't say completely different, but it's a different algorithm, okay? But it is clear that we use the exact match, okay, to find who is the right owner. In fact, the project, the CPIC Image Finder, that is that never was developed by political reasons, okay, not for anything. Actually, it was actually resolving that issue, okay? We could, by dumping an image to a box, okay, it will tell you who is the owner of the image, okay? Of course, the image is in the system, okay? So it's possible, but it's not exactly the similar search, okay? And I wanted to say a few words regarding prediction, okay? Because crystal balls still are not developed, okay? But I have been 45 years editing the AG Photostock collection of images. I still edit something like 90,000 images, between 90,000 and 128,000 images a month, okay? So I think I have a pretty good idea what are the characteristics of an image selling. The good thing about AG is that there's only been one editor, you know, in 45 years. So obviously my company is still alive, okay, is that the editing is good enough, okay? So what I'm saying is that predicting what an image, what components will make an image to sell are relatively easy after analyzing what you sell, which has been said here. You analyze what you sell, take in consideration some social trends, not color, nothing. There are social trends. In certain cases, society changes in one direction, and that indicates that the kind of subject will be interested. It's like the green thing, okay? Green images or something that epitomized like that, okay, will sell. So I don't think we need, it's essentially them. Maybe we need another software that will analyze the picture from a different point, okay?
Sorry, Alfonso, just reply. Yeah, you've said that you've effectively learned, or AI or machine learned that process over 40 years yourself. So my indication was that in the technology structures that have been placed in these filters, that there may be an opportunity for observing the same sort of machine learning that you've done, but within the speed and technologies of these particular output technologies that these guys are talking about.
I'm pretty sure the technology can actually analyze the image given certain parameters, okay? And I'm pretty sure that sooner or later this is going to be developed. If your image follows these parameters, okay, there are more possibilities of selling. However, I would say that the public trends, okay, that people sometimes, I remember once when we were producing paper catalogs years ago, that I was putting in catalogs, bad images, like fogged images, okay, that was extracted from fogged film, okay, and the surprise was that those images were selling, okay. So sometimes it's very difficult to predict geometrically what it will make an image to sell. What I would say is that 80% of images analyzed from a geometric point of view, this is metaphorical speaking, has opportunities to sell. But if you surprise the society, you surprise people with odd images, okay? It might happen that, Illuminados, great designers, etc., will use those images as well. So it is very difficult to generate a general rule. What I mean is the technology that is being represented in this panel, it helps tremendously, okay, to improve things, okay? This is what I wanted to say, but certainly your expertise or your analysis, your experience of many, many years of doing things is definitely very helpful.
Absolutely, great.
But what I can say is also in Amazon.com, a lot of this technology is used for analyzing images, but it's in the context of Amazon.com. What sells, for example, for us might be a totally different picture of what might sell in your business. So you need to take your data, right? And we don't have that data of what I sold for you. So I don't think it's going to come as, this image will sell for that price, because it all depends on context, who you're going to be selling to, who's your customer, what's your business, right? So,
we'll have to...
Just the last one. I want to say that there is something in this industry that has not been well done, which is market segmentation. Market segmentation actually defines which images is going to be used by every market, okay? Book publishing will use a style of images is completely different to the calendar market, okay? And calendar market is very easy to prognosticate which images that they're going to use, okay? So if ever your industry will recognize that market segmentation is important, you'll see that certain images will follow, the trend for advertising. Some others are for calendars, some others for greeting cards, some others for this kind of thing. So there's a lot of analysis to be done.
Great. So I'd like us to encourage everybody to continue this conversation over the coffee break. But before we break for coffee, I'd like to invite everybody for a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much.